Slow little doggies, quit roving around. Wandered and trampled all over the ground. Graze along, doggies, feed kinda slow. Don't forever be on the go. Move slow, little doggies, move slow. I've circle herded, trail herded, night herded too. To keep you together is what I can't do. My horse is leg weary and I'm awful tired. And if you get away, I am sure to get fired. Bunch up, little doggies, bunch up. Lay still, little doggies, since you have laid down. Stretch your way out on the big open ground. Snore loud, little doggies, and drown the wild sounds that will all go away when day rolls around. Lay still, little doggies, lay still. Slow, little doggies, quit roving around. You have wandered and trampled all over the ground. Graze along, doggies, and feed kinda slow. And don't forever be on the go. Move slow, little doggies, move slow. Little Joe the wrangler will wrangle nevermore. His days with the remuda they are o'er. 'Twas a year ago last April when he rode into our camp, a little Texas stray and all alone. Was late in the evening when he rode up to the herd on a little old brown pony he called Chaw. With brogan shoes and overalls, a tougher looking kid you never in your life had ever saw. His saddle was a southern cack built many years ago, an OK spur on one foot idly hung, with his hot roll in a cotton sack loosely tied behind, and a canteen from his saddle horn was slung. He said he had to leave his home, his pa had married twice, and his new ma whipped him every day or two. So he saddled up old Chaw one night and he lit a shuck this way. Now he's trying hard to paddle his own canoe. He said if we would give him work he'd do the best he could, though he didn't know straight up about a cow. So the boss he cut him out a mount and he kindly put him on, for he sorta liked the little kids somehow. Well, he learned to jingle horses and to know them one and all, and to get them in by daybreak if he could, and to follow the chuck wagon, and to always hitch the team, and to help the cocinero rustle wood. We'd driven to Red River, the weather being fine. We were camped out on the south side in a bend. When a norther commenced to blowing, we doubled up our guard, for it took all hands to hold the cattle in. Now little Joe the wrangler was called out with the rest, and though the kid had scarcely reached the herd, when the cattle they stampeded like a hailstorm along they fled, and we were all a-riding for the lead. Amidst the streaks of lightning there was one horse up ahead, trying to stop the leaders in their speed. Was little Joe the Wrangler with a slicker o'er his head. He was riding old Blue Rocket in the lead. Now we finally got 'em millin' and kinda quieted down, and the extra guard back to the wagon road. But there was one a-missin', and we knew it at a glance, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Next morning, just at daybreak, we found where Rocket fell, down in a washout 20 feet below. And beneath his horse, mashed to a pulp, his spur had rung the knell for our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Now little Joe the Wrangler, he'll wrangle nevermore, and his days with the remuda they are o'er. 'Twas a year ago last April when he rode into our camp, just a little Texas stray and nothing more. She rode up to the wagon as the sun was going down, a slender little figure dressed in gray. We'd asked her to get down a while and pull up to the fire, and Red Hot Chuck would soon be on the way. An old slouch hat with a hole on top was perched upon her head, wore a pair of bullhide chaps well greased and worn, an old twin rig all scratched and scarred from working in the brush, and a slick McGee rope tied to her saddle horn. She said she rode from Llano 400 miles away. Her pony was so tired he wouldn't go. She asked if she could stay a while and kinda rest him up, then maybe she could find her brother Joe. We could see that she'd been crying, her little face was sad. When she talked, her upper lip, it trembled so. She was the living image, we all saw it at a glance, of our little lost horse herder, Wrangler Joe. We'd asked where Joe was riding, if she knew the outfit's brand. Yes, his letter said it was the Circle Bar. It was mailed from Amarillo about 3 months ago, from a trail herd headed north to Cinnabar. I looks at Jim, he looks at Tom, and Tom looks back at me. There was something in our hearts we couldn't speak. She said that she got worried when she never heard no more, and things at home got tougher every week. You see, my mother died, she said, when Joe and I was born, and Joe and I was twins, her story ran. Then Daddy ups and marries, and he gets another wife, and then it was our troubles all began. She beat us and abused us and starved us most of the time, 'cause she never had no children of her own. Nothing Joe or I could do would ever be just right. Then Joe pulls out and leaves me all alone. I give the kid my bedroll and I bunks in with Jim. We planned and schemed and talked the whole night through as to which of us would tell her the way that Joe was killed, and break the news as gently as we could. I'll wrangle in the morning, boy, she says as she turns in, I'll have the horses at the wagon for its day. As the morning star was rising, I saw the kid roll out, saddle up the gray night horse and ride away. Soon we heard the horses coming, heading into camp. 'Tweren't daylight, but we plainly heard the bell, and then someone a-crying, a-comin' on behind. It was little Joe the Wrangler's sister Nell. We couldn't quite console her, she'd seen the horses brand as she drove 'em from the river bank below. From the look upon our faces, she seemed to realize that she ne'er again would see her brother Joe. We're up in the morning at the breaking of day. Chuck wagon's busy, there's flapjacks in play. The herd is astir over hillside and vale, and the night riders rounding them onto the trail. Come take up your cinches, shake out your reins, wake your old bronco to take in the plains. Come with your steers from the long chaparral, for the outfit is off to the railroad corral. The sun circles upward, the steers as they plod are pounding to powder the hot prairie sod. Just as it seems you'll get dizzy and sick, and you'll never reach noon in the cool shady creek. Come tie up your kerchief, ply up your nag, dry up your grumbles and try not to lag. Come drive out your steers from the long chaparral, for we're far on the trail to the railroad corral. Now the afternoon shadows are starting to lean, the chuck wagon sticks in a marshy ravine. The herd scatters farther than visions can look, but you bet all good punchers will help out the cook. Come shake out your rawhide, shake it out fair. Come break your old bronco to take in his share. Come roust out your steers from the long chaparral, for it's all in the drive to the railroad corral. Now the longest of days must reach evening at last. The hills are all climbed and the creeks are all passed. The tired herd droops in the yellowing light. Let 'em rest if they will, 'cause the railroad's in sight. So flap up your holster, snap up your belt, strap up your saddle, whose lap you have felt. Say goodbye to the steers in the long chaparral, for there's a town that's a trunk by the railroad corral. So flap up your holsters and snap up your belt, and strap up your saddle, whose lap you have felt. Say goodbye to the steers in the long chaparral, there's a town that's a trunk by the railroad corral.